right, welcome back to another episode of Small Guys Podcast. Today we are reviewing Annihilation from 2018. A biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition into a mysterious zone where the laws of nature don't apply. This movie has an 88% critic score, but a 67% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, this is Mike's pick, so I guess for starters, Mike, what did you love about this movie?
I love the part where Natalie Portman was a hot woman.
Yeah, I love the
part where it was like sci-fi. You know I'm about my sci-fi.
Yeah, so usually when someone on the show, usually when someone on the show recommends a movie that none of us have seen, they usually show up and record.
Nothing like getting my mind fucked.
Yeah, he did recently have surgery, so it is understandable. It was
It's a justified one. If it was anyone else, we'd be up in arms right now. Like I'd be
me personally, though, Brian,
whoop his ass.
If I recommended a movie that maybe you guys didn't enjoy as much, and I made you guys all watch it, I could be shot in the leg 30 minutes before. I'd still make it. But that's just the guy I am. So
that'd be like if I skipped
that
as
on
above,
record.
so below, while everyone else talks shit about it. Like that'd be crazy.
Oh, Andrew would have been livid. Yes, yeah. So he's also not here. They're both very excited about this movie, and they really like it. Both missed it, though. Unfortunate. But you got us three. Kind of sewer experts when it comes to movies. We've never seen this, the three of us. I've heard things about it. You know what's crazy? I'm not meaning to jump around here, and we don't really have to talk about the scene yet. The end song? Yeah, I've heard that before. I don't know where I've heard that before.
It's all over TikTok, dude. That's how I know it. Because I heard that, and I was like, God damn it. Like, this is how I felt when I was in Interstellar.
I think I turned it off so fast because it was such a shitty movie.
It's like in the third act.
There's like actual movie scene, not like the credits.
Yeah,
itself.
not the credits. Yeah, not the credits. I guess. Did you guys know anything about this before? Did you guys know it was Alien? Did you know who's in it?
Never heard about it. When it hit the list, you guys were like watching Annihilation. I was like, what is that? You said Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac. And I was like, all right, two of my favorite people. Great actors, actresses. So I was like, all right, let's get into it. But
I know you drafted Oscar Isaac in our actors draft, so I know you're a fan of him. I mean, he's great.
He is. As soon as I saw him, I had faith. And I was like, all right, I can get behind this. Plus, it's funny, now they've both been in Star Wars at this point in time. So it was cool. Never would I thought that.
Yeah. And we did watch it on Netflix. I believe it leaves Netflix September 30th. So if you want to watch it, go check it out before it's gone. I think I enjoyed it more than you guys did. So I kind of want to hear you guys' thoughts first.
Like,
I know we kind of go through the movie.
Like, since I've already talked about it, and clearly you can tell I'm not the biggest fan. It seemed like a really good idea. I think it was just poorly fucking executed. Okay. I think there was certain aspects of the movie where it was headed in the right direction for what I personally liked, and then it just fell flat for me. And you're like, all right, well that was a waste of fucking time. Plus, honestly, I started this movie it took me 3 days to watch it. I kept turning it on, and at certain points it would interest me, and then it would have a low point. I'd be like, I'd pause it, roll over, go to sleep. So I just finished it. The ending was cool, but again, throughout the movie, I feel like it just fell flat. What about you, Edo?
Yeah, I've never heard of the movie. Maybe I have, but it wasn't on the list. I haven't heard many people talk about it, so I mean, obviously it didn't get as much praise as some of the other movies that we review on here. But no, cast was great. Like Pop said, I mean, I think it was just poorly executed. I think they had a decent concept, but I didn't think it was as much of a I don't want to say the word, as much of a twist as, Mike was putting it out to be.
He called it a mind fuck.
Yeah, I wouldn't really consider it a mind fuck.
At no point was this a mind fuck.
Not at all.
It was very predictable.
The only mind fuck was all right, they show this, the bubble, or what were they considering it? Like a force field or some shit. But they were calling it that, and I mean, we see it. They don't even hesitate going inside of it. They said that every single team that they sent in there, no one has made it out besides Oscar Isaac's character.
It's the Shimmer, right?
The Shimmer.
Yeah, the Shimmer.
And they don't even hesitate. Natalie Portman just wakes up. They're like, all right, you're not going to go home. So, all right, I guess I'll go inside. She's not even there for scientific research. She obviously saw that her husband was there. She's less worried about her husband being alive and all of his organs failing
Mhm.
Besides the fact that, hey, let's just go in, fuck it. Like, no, they didn't bring any. I guess she brought a microscope. That's it, because she's a cell biologist, or like a microbiologist, basically. So she studies it, which I thought was like, all right, she just magically happens to be a scientist in microbiology, and now she's going in this where everything is like duplicating, everything's getting mutated, like all this stuff. I'm like, all right, like it just seems so laid out, you know. But uh, I don't know. I mean, I think they had a decent, like, it has a good idea. I compared this to Don't Worry, Darling. I thought Don't Worry, Darling was good, and it had like a unique plot, I guess you could call it, unique story, and then the execution was just poorly. It was
Yeah.
just poorly done. And I mean, that's another thing too. Is like, once you guys said this, I looked it up, and Alex Garland's the director of this, and he did Ex Machina, who has Oscar Isaac in it, and that's
Yep.
a great movie. You watch that a million times, and it's a complete mind fuck. You know, we've all seen it, right?
No,
Yep.
no, I've actually never seen the full
Oh
thing.
my god,
That's a
dude!
great
Watch
movie.
that, and it's a great movie. One of
Yeah,
my
we'll have to
like,
do that one.
yeah, it's excellent from start to finish. And then you get this movie, which comes after that. Same director. We got Oscar Isaac in it. I don't know if any other people are in both of them, but either way, I mean, like, I don't even know. Like, I would never rewatch this movie again in my
Nope.
life.
Nope.
See,
And-
I probably would.
There was like, again, the only cool shit to this was like the last 30 minutes was dope, and like when she's looking into the thing and like sees like essentially, I don't know, like the universe, like
Yeah.
that was cool. And then the whole thing with the fucking bear, the mutated bear, was sick as fuck.
Yeah. That was
But
scary.
also, like, it would have been better if they would have just made it a fucking horror movie at that point. That thing was scaring them, and like other things were coming. But instead, we saw that fucking bear once, and then we saw what, a deer. There was like deer that were fucking
Croc?
like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
the croc at the beginning. That's
Crocodile,
also a
deer, and
like,
the
I don't
bear,
know,
that was
and I
it.
get it. They're just in this one small park, but at the same time, like fucking, if you could pick anywhere. Like you didn't have to pick this boring ass place.
No.
Yeah. So
And I mean,
I oh, go ahead, Aiden.
no, I was just gonna mention, because the bear scene was great, and I also think the camera parts were sick. Like when you see Oscar Isaac cut that guy open,
Oh
his
yeah, dude, that
intestines are
was
moving
fun. I
around.
was eating and I had to stop.
Yeah, exactly. And then I rewinded it just to see it again. I was like, God, like this is how the movie should have been the entire time. But it was
Mhm.
like, I mean, we see them like get these cameras, but they don't collect the SD cards. They're not bringing it back. Like they're not doing anything like that. Like they're just watching it, shutting it. I don't want to see that again. Like, okay,
Well, dude,
And-
that one lady freaking out was just like, "Oh no, it's a trick on the camera." Like you knew she was
Yeah.
gonna be a problem. Like why the hell? Like what? There's no way she passed the psyche valve. They're sitting there going, "Hey guys, this shimmer popped up. It's probably aliens." She's like, "Yeah, like I can go in there." And instead, she sees the first thing. He's like, "No, fuck that. Like we gotta go."
Well, she also said that she looks down at that one scene, I think, when they're in the house, or I don't know, they're in some building, and she's just staring at her hands.
Yeah.
And you're like, all
About
right,
the
she's already
fingerprints
losing her
moving?
mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, she thought that her fingerprints were moving. It's like,
Yeah, and that was
Oh.
after she went fucking crazy. I mean, are we jumping around too much? Like, can we talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can kind of go through it a little bit because I wanted to talk about the beginning.
All right, let's do it. I didn't want to get too
I
far.
mean, I felt
ahead.
like I was-
I know we're notorious for that.
Yeah, I was just kind of lost at the beginning, and I'm sure probably everyone was watching, and that's why I'd almost consider rewatching, especially once you know the end. And I feel like the ending is kind of up to the interpretation, I guess, of the viewer in a certain degree. But yeah, it's at the beginning she's talking about her husband being dead or gone for 12 months, right? And then he ends up showing up randomly out of the blue, and he just knows nothing. Like he completely lost his memory, and then yeah, they rush him to the hospital because he starts having health problems, a seizure, I believe, and then that's when they get kidnapped by this random group and get sent to this estate, I guess, or factory, whatever it is, site that yeah, it shows the shimmer, and so it's like throws you right in, and you're like, what the hell is going on? You're as confused as Natalie Portman's character, and yeah. So I guess, what did you guys think of the way the movie started?
I thought it was good. I mean, you see Oscar Isaac's character come in, who's Natalie Portman's husband. He was he's in the military, so like he's just doing a tour or whatever, like a secret mission. I don't know what they called it, but I mean, we see that. I mean, it starts off like you said. I mean, it's so quick. You know, he just shows up. She's there. She thinks he's dead, and you think that she's like hallucinating, like picturing him, and then she ends up like physically touching him. So it's like, all right. So like, obviously he's back, and it's like, I thought he was going to be in the movie more than he was. I thought like he was going to be a main character, obviously, but no. I mean, then we see them. He just gets picked up, and that's about it. And then she wakes up in the Shimmer, I guess, the base camp that's outside of it. And they kind of mentioned that the Shimmer is just a weird anomaly that just popped up in like a remote like town, basically a small town, but a swamp area. So it's not like it's in the city. It's not like it's
highly populated or anything.
Yeah, highly populated. And it's just growing as like the time goes on.
Yeah. And then so we meet the characters that we're gonna follow throughout the movie. That it's the group that she's going in there with, and you do learn eventually kind of the reason that they all go in there. I mean, they all have their own problems. One's like suicidal, one lost her daughter, one's sick. So it all makes sense why they would agree to go in this mission, because it's almost like a suicide mission to a certain degree, right? Maybe something that you don't come back from, especially like Brian mentioned earlier, when you hear that all these other groups have gone in there and they haven't come back out. So it's like, okay, what happens in there? So we watch them go in, and then I think it cuts, to 6 days later, something like that, where they wake up in these tents.
I think it said it was 4 days.
Yeah.
From the food comparison, we don't remember anything for 4 days. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, all right, I guess it's
crazy. Yeah, and so... And Lena, the character, Natalie Portman's character, wakes up and she had a dream of her having an affair, and I didn't know if it was like real. I didn't know, I didn't know.
I thought it was
the thing
real.
was playing tricks on her.
Real?
No, it is real, because
it is real.
When he sees her, they meet and they talk at her work. Yeah, and she's like, no, like she wants nothing to do with him. Yeah, and that's because we see the scene obviously later.
It makes more sense later on.
All right, I thought
I thought the Shimmer was playing mind tricks on her or something, because it was as soon as they walked in past that tree line, and then they show that scene, and then she wakes up. So I didn't know, what had happened there. I mean, obviously we learn more about it as it goes on, but I think it's kind of a reflection on themselves or what their thoughts are. Like, clearly she has a lot of grief towards that, and isn't happy about it and regrets. And so the fact that she had that dream in there, I think that says something to what the Shimmer really does, right? Or especially once you're exposed to it. But I'm shocked when they went in, none of them had hazmat suits on, nothing like that. When we see hazmat suits earlier on in the movie when they're in the site that they're in.
Is that Wong that's in that too? When he's talking to her?
Yeah, they're all in the hazmats, and I'm like, why wouldn't you go in there with those?
Yeah, well, that just wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't see these Hollywood actors, Josh. Come on.
I guess so, yeah.
But no, I mean, the one thing that cracked me up is when they're walking to the Shimmer and they stop, and the one girl that's in it is, we just saw her she's in The Hunters season 2. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but she's also in something else that we just watched. And I remember
is she
looking
the doctor, the psychiatrist?
She's the leader of their group of the girls.
Dr. Ventress.
Yep. But whatever, when they're walking in, it's like the girls' Ghostbusters movie. They're just all standing there looking at it, and then they go in. It's like, God.
Yep, and actually, it wasn't even that exciting for me. Like, they woke up and said it was 4 days later, and that's actually a moment where I paused and rolled over for the night. I was like, yep, I'm good.
Well, people, I saw after the fact, after watching it, people were thinking it was going to be like a girl version of Ridley or whatever. Like, I was seeing like different, like horror alien movie type movies, but with girls in it instead. So it's funny you said that, Aiden. I was thinking that too. I don't know. And then they mentioned too at the beginning, they're like, yeah, we've sent plenty of men in there.
Yeah, I know.
Like, okay.
They don't even hesitate going in.
Yeah.
But that one girl, Jennifer Jason Leigh, the leader of there, she's the prisoner in Hateful Eight too.
Oh yeah.
So that's where she's familiar. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff.
Either way.
And obviously Tessa Thompson too is in the group as
Yep.
well. Yeah, so they wake up and they start traveling and they encounter that big gator, and dude, that's straight out of Red Dead 2.
Yeah, that's
Do you
what it
remember
felt
that?
like. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
there's a big gator that you can run into, and it's a legendary animal, and it's that same color, that same size. You got to pour tons of bullets into him. He'll
Yeah.
follow you to camp.
Both were 2018, so which one did it first?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought exactly like, oh, that's from Red Dead 2.
Yep.
That was kind of a sweet scene though. What would you guys think of that?
Yeah, that was
No.
cool. And then no one
Him coming
died.
out of the
Though.
water like that.
No one died, and I was like, eh.
No,
Yeah.
I liked it, but I didn't like how she got dragged all the way. That big ass thing, you see it breaking out of the walls and stuff, and I mean, you don't even. It doesn't make as big of a noise, I guess you could say, when it grabs her backpack. And how does that thing not just eat her up like that with all those like mutated teeth and all that?
Yep.
Like, all right, it has a backpack. She goes in and it goes away. Where does it go? It's in a little shack. And
Yeah.
then Natalie Portman's character goes in. She's just sitting there while they already got the girl back, and she's still waiting in the water. And then out of nowhere, then they get on land. It breaks out, and then it comes onto shore. It's like,
Yeah, they just start lighting it up.
yeah. And then
And then what did
that's
it have?
where
It had
shows
shark
her-
teeth, right?
Yeah, it was like all the mutated.
No, it
mouth.
was just like the whole throat was lined with teeth.
Yeah, but there was like shark teeth and shit in there too.
Yeah.
Is what they
Damn.
were saying, because they were mutated. Because that's when they were like, well, could they crossbreed? And then she's like, actually, you can't crossbreed different animals like this. And he's like, dude, fuck off. None of this is real. And then, so let's fast forward, because I thought this part was like, it was cool, but then they made it stupid as fuck because they danced around it. So they get to the mess hall, right? That's
Yep.
where they head to next, and they get there, and they notice, like, Natalie Portman's character notices, was it Lena, right?
Lena, yep.
Lena the plug.
So, yeah, Lena the plug. So Lena the plug looks at the board, and she notices like they got Kane's name up there along with what, 4 other guys, or maybe it was 3 other guys, and certain names are crossed off. Clearly, those motherfuckers are dead, right? All right, and so after that, though, like after she points out the board, and she doesn't want to tell anyone that, oh, like my husband was here. Which also, what did you guys think about that? I honestly think she should have been like, hey, my husband was in here. I'm trying to get fucking answers. Like, you bitches can, like, fuck off, do whatever you want. I'm here to figure out what's going on. I think it would have saved us a giant headache for something else that pissed me off later in the movie.
Yeah, because we would have saved like 10, 15 minutes there,
Dude,
probably.
yes, easy.
Yeah.
She's Natalie Portman's character is mysterious to them. They don't know anything about her. She just shows up. They see her take down the gator because she's ex-military, so like she's just sitting there in a stance shooting that thing. And then, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna jump ahead, but
No, yeah, hang on. So
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
we're here. So after she points out the board, she denies it. Like again, the audience is like, "Oh my god, why didn't she say anything?" And only the doctor knows. Whatever. They find, hey, ladies, over here. This is for us, and it's like for those who follow. And it's a little tape. Okay, it's a little tape. Honestly, what pissed me off is they don't even put it back. Like they're gonna take it with them. We all know they're dead. They should have just put it back for in case anyone else had to come back through there, so they could know. So they find this tape. Right? And you're like, hell yeah, found footage. You guys know, huge found footage guys. Like, let me have it. Oscar Isaac in the found footage, I'm there for it. So they show him, and this is gross. Like, it is one of the best scenes in the movie, though. So it shows them, like, hey, this is what's happening here. And that's the scene that we were talking about, where they're cutting open the guy, and you see Oscar Isaac, like, cutting into him, and then fucking, like, filleting the shit back. Like, oh, it was gross. And the shit's moving, right? Okay? And that was dope. And they're like, oh my god, there's something in there, except for that one crazy bitch who's like, no, there's nothing there. This is the sped up version, basically, because none of this matters. None of this really fucking matters, because they get... So the main psychologist walks away, and they're like, where's she going? And they follow her, and she goes to the pool. And that body is on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, honestly... Wait, what I forgot to mention was in the end of that clip, they show Oscar Isaac drop the knife in the water and start washing his hands. So, like, there's water nearby. So that's why this lady goes to the pool. Everyone else follows, the 4 other ladies, and they get there. And they're trying to figure out, it was also a very cool shot how they did it. I want to know, because that was dope. They have the body of the guy that had the thing growing around him, like, basically, I don't even know, like, growing? What's the word there, Aiden? You were the bio kid. It's
Mine
like
too.
like
I mean,
mutated
no,
and shit.
I thought it was more of. It reminded me of The Last of Us.
Well, that's what I thought, like a mushroom almost, but that's
Yeah, it
not
was just-
it technically.
No.
But yeah, so he mushrooms out and he's got all these flowers and shit, and he's like a dead body, and it's very clearly him, and nobody even mentions it. No one says, "Holy shit, that's fucking Mike Wazowski," or whatever the hell his name
Yeah.
is. No one says it. They just walk away, and they're like, "I wonder what happened here, guys." Like,
No.
what the fuck?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I like that shot. That's where it started getting dark, and I'm like, all right, we see this guy. Stuff was obviously growing in him. We see him going through like photosynthesis in the damn pool, like he's sitting up against the wall. Reminded me of Last of Us, which I thought was cool.
Yep.
But then his like body is mutilated. Like half of his torso's down here, his head and
Yeah,
his
dude, his
jaw
spine
are like
became like a
separated.
fucking like
A root,
stem.
basically.
Yeah, like a root. There you go.
And then, I mean, you see that it's like, holy shit! Like, like something's in here. Like, is he gonna wake up? Like, is he like, is there creatures out there? But then, I mean, it doesn't even like you said it. I mean, it's pointless. Like, we don't see anything else. Like, we don't see.
Natalie Portman's like, "Hey, I see that they had a set watch hour. We should do that too."
Yeah, and then that's
all
pretty
you
much
get.
it. They just go there and they're like, I can't even look at it. And like, all right, come on, let's go. And then like, that's it. They find the knife. That's it. And it just keeps. They go up to the watchtower and then they start their
Yeah, so
new scene.
So the watchtower part kind of annoyed me a little bit because you know they're on watch on the ground and they see that the bear, or they don't know at the time, but something splits open the gate like a zipper. She says, I feel like you'd want to make a beeline back to the tower. You're not too far from it. It's right behind you to be up on the tower, right? I mean that kind of annoyed me. I'm like, you'd be safe up there. You could watch it on the stairs.
Honestly, I don't know why they all just didn't stay up there in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that was
watch
stupid.
from up
And
there.
then- I mean, the only thing that you could take into consideration would be that they killed the alligator, which is huge. Like, they can kill anything. Like but either way, they shouldn't have had someone down low.
I thought too it was a wolf man. Like
Wolf-
a man
I wish.
mutated
Man,
with
bear,
a
I
wolf.
wish it would have
A
been.
man, bear,
Yeah, like a
pig?
werewolf. Yeah, something like that.
No. I
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be something sick, but then it
Then it's
ended
just
up just
fucking Al Gore.
being the bear. But the bear wasn't
The
even
bear
moving
did
that
have
fast
like
inside.
a face smashed into it too, like a human face, which is
It was more like
cool.
it was like skeleton, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it had the screams.
And it looked like
That
it
was
had like
fucking
it looked like
crazy.
it had a merger almost of like a bear head and like a deer head, because like
Yeah.
how long it was, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then this bear attack happens, right? And you're like, all right, finally, someone fucking dies. Like,
Kill Shepard.
this is dope. Like, R.I.P. Shepard. It had to happen though. We're like fucking an hour into this movie. Someone needs to start dying here, and so they die. Whatever. It carries on to the next morning now. And now what? So the next morning they're like, oh,
Well, they head to the house.
yeah, they were like, oh, we can get to here, this little town by tomorrow, and then by the next day we'll be on the shoreline for the fucking lighthouse, because that's the end.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool. So they make it to this house, right? And I don't remember shit in between, so if I'm missing something, I'm sorry.
Well, they go find. She goes and finds Shepard's body. That's where we see the deers too.
Okay, yeah. So Shepard's body is just what? Thrown into the ground, right? Like as if the guy on
Yeah,
the
it's like
wall-
growing into the tree now or something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So that happened, and you see the deer on like their antlers has the little flowers and shit, which is
And they're
really
mirroring
cool.
each other too.
It reminded me of fucking Far Cry New Dawn, which is the one that takes place after they fucking set off the nukes. So I think it takes place after 5 with Father John, whatever the hell. It reminded me of
Yeah.
that the whole time. So like that was kind of cool. Like that was the only thing keeping me intrigued. So they get to this house. Everything is all kind of dandy. Natalie Portman realizes that she's sick as well. Her cells are splitting like when she goes to bed. Like she wakes up and she fucking that's when she does the blood work, right? She's like, oh,
Would you
no.
notice too that is her house?
Oh, is it? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So I saw.
What do you mean
when
it's
we
your
get to the-
house?
When
What
we
do you
get into
mean
the
it's-
trivia, I'll show it. But I'll explain it more. But yeah, basically, when she walked in and I saw the staircase, and she like looked at the picture frames, which Kane does at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
I was like, "Holy shit, is that her house?" And then after I looked it up, it was like supposed to be her house.
So she's in like the upside down essentially, or what?
Yeah, it's like, well, it takes a reflection of the people's memories that are in there to a certain degree. So yeah,
okay, I
so
gotcha,
it's like
I
a
gotcha.
version
So
of
how does
her
she
house.
not? Why does she not bring that up?
she's at this point still mysterious, right? So it's like she's not telling people about
Dude,
Kane.
she could have saved us 30 goddamn minutes
Yeah.
of
But like,
this
guys,
movie.
this is my house.
Yeah, this literally is my house.
Oh my god, ladies, you're
But
not
then,
gonna believe this.
we're getting to the part where the girl obviously ties him up because she's going nuts. How does she find out? Oh, the locket on her,
The locket.
on her, her chain. So I mean,
And
it's
then
not even
the
like
thing
she found a
is,
picture in the
she
house.
figures it out though. She figures it out though because she goes, "What is it? A brother, a father, a husband?" And Natalie Portman says like, "No," and then she goes, "Oh, a husband." It's like, what the fuck gave it away? She's muffled. Like it's not like she was like, "Oh no," she was just like yelling,
Yeah.
like, "Get this mask off me!" You know.
Yeah.
So this bitch is going crazy. She's talking about how she looks at her hands and that she can see her fingerprints moving. And so now she's talking about how that if she were to be the one that was like going crazy and the ladies were untied and she was the one in the chair, that they would cut her open and she would see the thing moving. And then she's like, but I'm not that bitch. You guys are. And so she goes to cut them open, but out of nowhere, Shepard's voice is heard again. You know, Shepard's dead. Like Lena knows that Shepard's dead. Like she saw.
Yeah,
the
no
body.
one of the characters saw the body.
Yeah, plus it was Lena and the psychiatrist are the only two that saw the bear take her away. The other two
Yeah.
girls were up in the watchtower, so they technically didn't see it. So this girl is freaking out. She's like, "Oh, Lena and the psychiatrist are in this together. Like, we didn't see a bear. They're the ones that are crazy." So in the peak of this, where she's about to start gutting them, you hear Shepard's voice, and you're like, "What is happening?" Like, because again, as the audience, we know that they're dead. They do a really good job of making us feel like Natalie Portman, except for the fact that I would have said something. Like instantly, be like, "Hey guys, this is my house. Hey, my husband's Kane, the guy that made it out of here. Whatever."
Mm-hmm.
The bear is back, baby. So this lady goes out with the gun, like, "Shepard, I'm gonna save you." This fucking bear takes her down, it snatches her out the house. Basically, you know that meme with the hook? That's what it looked like. Dude. Like, they took the hook,
Yeah,
they pulled her away, and then you get probably, I think, my second favorite sequence of the whole movie. Well, the ending's my favorite sequence. Felt like this is probably my second or third compared to that guy in the pool because that was sick. But this bear comes in, dude, and the bear, it almost reminds me of like you know what I'm saying? Like when people talk about like skinwalkers and shit, like how like they don't fully develop. It was almost like that, except it was this bear that looked so fucking cool. And again, if they wanted to make this a horror movie, I feel like this movie would have been way fucking cooler. Like that shit was scary for like that whole 10 minutes.
Yeah, that will be one of the parts of the movie that's like more memorable is that creature, right?
100%. I mean, that was by far my favorite part. I mean, it was like you said. I mean, it was scary as hell. That bear's sitting there; they're tied up, and they're like, "Don't move."
Yeah, it's like
and
a T-Rex.
They're like sitting there, and it's literally just walking around, and then it's like saying, it's opening its mouth. You're hearing like cries for help, "Help me!" All this stuff. Like, holy shit,
dude! And then you don't even know. Is it the bear? Which is also, I forgot, like, that's also why it makes me think of, like, a skinwalker, because they say skinwalkers, like, mimic people's voices, but they're not fully formed. So, like, that's why this bear, like, reminded me of that. So maybe that's why it scared the shit out of me, too. But, back to it, the voices thing, like, you couldn't tell almost, like, if it was the bear using that as, like, an animal would, you know, like, to, like, attract prey, or is it actually Shepard, like, stuck in this fucking bear? Yeah. And, like, either way, it's terrifying. Either way, it's fucking horrifying. So I thought that was like a really cool factor of the whole fucking thing. But then again, they sold it too short. Like the lady comes in, guns the bear, distracts him, bunch of mishap, whatever. Someone else gets a gun and just blows the fucking bear's brains out. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
End of that great sequence. Let's see what they have next.
Yeah, and two, I mean, at that point, Lena's like in danger. Natalie Portman's character of being killed, right? And but you know, from the beginning of the movie when she's talking to Wong, that she makes it out. So like that's what I don't like in a lot of movies too, where it shows you, you know, the future and someone's explaining the story. And
there's one way it could have worked, and I'll say it at the end. And I think we might all be thinking it, but who knows?
Yeah, and obviously too, she's the lead, right? So you got to assume she'll make it to the end to some degree. But it's like, you know, for a fact that she makes it through this unscathed.
Yeah.
So
that's why
that
I mean,
even
me. From that's what I had in my mind the entire time, even since the crocodile fight. Like I'm like, all right, well, she's obviously safe. So like anything from here to this point, like she's fine.
Yeah.
And that's why. And then it kind of made sense at the end, but it wasn't how we played it out.
Yeah, and we're getting to the end here because the psychiatrist goes off. She's like, "I'm going to the lighthouse. I don't care anymore." She went off on her own. And then
And
Tessa Thompson's character.
just to make it a point, the lighthouse was like the origin of this. So they were trying to get to the lighthouse to see if they could find any information and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Tessa Thompson's character, I guess, kind of gives into it, right? Like she turns into a tree, I believe.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a
statue.
Tree. It's like the people. They're like statues of people, but they're covered in flowers.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too. Is like all those other ones. Those had to have been humans, right?
Yeah.
So like who they just
maybe those were the people that lived there when it crashed or something.
Possibly, but they said that they got almost everyone out.
Yeah, they evacuated them. But also, you got to imagine
there looked like one that was a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like it also reminded me of like not Chernobyl. What is it? The fucking COD place. It's a real
COD map.
No, I don't know what it's called. It's a country or whatever. But it's like when the nuke goes off, like like they're sitting there in place, like just their dust, like figures.
Yeah, or the shadows or whatever. Yeah.
So that's what it reminded me.
Well, I don't know. You gotta think though. It's probably like fucking like people like Bill that tried to stay back, like in The Last of Us. And they just didn't evacuate.
Oh, maybe
that. Or also, you got to imagine too the amount of military that they sent in originally before they roped it all off because they didn't know what it was. Like,
and I'm gonna assume too. I'm gonna assume too. Most of them died by going insane and killing the others.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what I assume. How most of them ended up dying.
Well, you also see the guys on. I mean, kind of the next part.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, you see Tessa Thompson, her scars on her arm. They start blooming. She's got all these things. And I kind of like that camera shot going through the trees, and she's like just disappearing. And then it's like, all right, then you turn the corner, and it was like, shit.
Again, that would have been another cool. If they honestly just would have taken this and added more of like a horror aspect to it, like it would have been like a way cooler fucking story. But because they wanted to make this like epic adventure, like let's go into the shimmer and figure out what's going on, like it just kind of ruined it for me. I think again there was a great setup for a lot cooler stuff, and it wasn't what I wanted. Like I understand why people like it, but it just isn't what I wanted.
Yeah, and then we get to the lighthouse finally, right? And this part to me is like eerie, kind of, because you don't know what the fuck like is about to happen, what's about to go down. So. I don't know. What did you guys think of that scene? Is it that I know, Brian, you mentioned like the lighthouse part was one of your favorite scenes.
Yeah, this last 30 minutes was actually kind of cool. So again, like I said, I would have done things differently, but when you get here, you get here. Like you've watched the movie this far, let's wrap it up. But the lighthouse was actually not truly disappointing. You're getting to the origin of what really happened, and you leave it. And I'm not going to say it's a mind fuck by any means, but I mean like it is like a whoa, like that's kind of cool, man. Like I don't know. I was trying to think of what it reminded me the most of, and I kept getting Interstellar vibes almost. But even Interstellar did a way better job of like flipping and reversing everything on you, you know?
Yeah.
No, I thought that part was cool. I mean, we see after Tessa Thompson's character turns into a leaf statue, whatever, flower statue. You see Lena like break down. She's crying because she's alone now. The other girl's at the lighthouse. She's obviously going there in order to get out, and she has to bypass it. But when she's walking, she gets to the shoreline. She sees all those skulls and crossbones, in the sand. So like, how many different people, like, who planted that, and stuff like that. So I mean, you just see it's basically like a graveyard. They're just finding new things everywhere, and. They get into that lighthouse. You see that,
Kane's video?
Yeah, we see Kane's video, but when I see a lighthouse, I'm thinking scary movie where they go in and it's
that's
the fucking guy from... So I'm waiting for some dude to be in the... waiting for some guy to be in the top of the lighthouse just watching everyone.
A thing that took me out of it is when she watches the video, it's edited. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like Kane is filming.
Someone sat there cutting it and shit.
Yeah, there's a shot of the water and then a shot of like him walking past the skulls and then a shot of him in there. I'm like, who edited this?
No, the one thing that I didn't like about that is that we're watching it from her perspective going in, but it's not like it changes to his perspective. He's the one that's in, and they don't change anything. Like they should have made it full screen. They should have had the tape like lines, you know what I'm talking about? You're obviously watching it from screen, so I didn't like that part. I wish they would have had it more from like her perspective watching this film in her eyes. but then it goes in. I mean, we see a skeleton, like a someone burned with a hole in like their chest. So like, all right, we don't. It's not the flowers like grow onto the wall and stuff like that.
Something different happened here.
Yeah, something different happened, and then she finds the video camera that's in the middle of the room. So
perfectly, this body's fucking exploded on the wall. And this camera didn't move.
Yeah. So then we see that Kane's his name.
Kane.
We see that. I mean, his wife Natalie Portman, Lena, is watching this, and she sees like him doing like a monologue, basically setting the camera up, going in front of it. He's talking to someone. He's talking in like third person, which is weird. So then, I mean,
well, it's like a country accent too. Like he's
Well,
losing
he's
his
like,
mind.
I thought I was a man.
Yeah, he's like, I thought I was a man.
They called me Kane out there.
Yeah, so he's obviously off the rails. And then we see, like, make sure when you see Lena, give her my love or whatever. And you're like, what the fuck? And then we see his clone, duplicate, whatever, come from behind the camera. So he's going and he's like, I don't even know why. Why did he kill himself? Because he was just going nuts?
So that's what I.
They don't even explain that.
I don't think like he understood how to mirror it. I think Lena had the understanding from what she saw that she understood the mirroring, and that Kane thought blowing himself up was like a way to. I don't even know. Like I don't think he thought it would transfer his mind into the fucking mirrored version of him. I think he thought there was only one of them getting out of there, and it wasn't going to be him. Is what I took away from it.
But
well,
then you think
also,
that he would take him out too, which.
Well, also too, we know that his character knew about the affair and really didn't have any plans on making it back. Right? Mm-hmm. They only send broken people in there. She vetted everyone that went in there and everything like that, and explained to them what the mission was beforehand, and it was up to them whether or not they want to accept it.
Oh yeah, so she said that shit about broken marriage when they were on the Night Watch.
Yeah. So she knew and he knew, and so at that point he's gone mad too. He's gone insane. I mean, he's got a beard at this point. You've got to assume he's been there for a long ass time. So I think that's what led him to end up doing that. And clearly he went in that hole, and did what Natalie Portman did.
Which is, so like that's where I think this is cool. Because again, I don't storytelling wise, it is alright. But like visually, this part was cool. So she goes into this hole that's originally glowing on the camera. When like he puts the camera there and it's fucking glowing, you're like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And
no. It was because he kills himself using the phosphorus grenade.
Is that what
set it off? And it burns all the way through.
Oh, okay. I thought for whatever reason he had a shot of the fucking hole burning and then he fucking blew himself up. Okay. Well, whatever. Again, fucking hell, this movie. When she goes into the hole, it was cool because you see like the fucking the psychiatrist where her face isn't fully developed. And like a guy like me who's got bad eyes, I had to like double take. I was like, I need glasses? Like what's going on here?
That part's freaky.
But her face like isn't loaded. It's like it reminded me of like the Slender Man, if you will. And like it looked like that, and then what even happened? She like says something and then screeches out like Godzilla and fucking
she's like talking to herself,
shooting out of her mouth, and how it's a full circle or some shit like that. And then
I didn't really catch that part.
Turns into just this orb, and that's where it's like cool. Like visually, it's fucking cool. It's like as if you're seeing the universe and to anyone that's played Starfield yet, it's almost like what it looked like when you first pick up an artifact. And like when you pick up an artifact in Starfield, it does this cool thing where that essentially in that one is like carrying you across the universe and like opening your eye. I'm not that far into it yet, so I gotta play more to figure out what's going on. But that's what it reminded me of. It looked like that, and that was cool. And you're watching all of this happen in Natalie Portman's eyes, like it keeps reflecting back and forth, And then you see this little like red dot, and I thought something was going to come out of her, like an alien. I thought that was because I didn't think it was just blood. But then it was 3 drops, I think, just 3 drops exactly go into this thing, and you see it start 1 cell, 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, and it just fucking grows. And right there, I was like, oh, okay, so this is a clone. Like this is what fucking Oscar Isaac is outside of here. Like that's a clone. And sure enough, this clone comes out. And it looks like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know. It reminds me of, if you ever watched American Horror Story, the first season. It reminds me of like that like slender motherfucker that just comes out. Yeah.
She just starts unloading on it.
Yeah, and it does nothing. It doesn't even ricochet off. Like it almost as if it absorbs it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I mean, I thought that part was cool, but I think it would have been better if it was more like if they were aliens, and that's why like we
I
see kind
agree.
of like Wong's talking to her, just like, is it an alien life form? She's like, I don't know. Which I mean, at least they don't know, and we
I
don't
think
know.
it is. Yeah,
It
I
has to
interpret it as
be.
it is.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not human, and I don't think that's
No.
man-made.
no,
Yeah.
but then
So.
I mean, but that's what's cool about it. I mean, you see that she's in there, her leader, whatever that girl's name was, like her energy's absorbed into whatever. So obviously she got killed another new way that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And but I mean, no, I mean when that duplicate comes out, it's like uh tryptophan, like or whatever the hell you call it, that design. So like you're like, all right, what is it? Like, is it gonna go on like a rampage? Is that I thought that that's what it needed was blood, and then it was game over. I thought like it was gonna expand. I thought it was gonna do everything like that body alone was gonna start duplicating into multiple people, and then it was just like wraps.
Yeah. And then
Which
too,
I'm
she
kind of
she she
good.
outsmarts it once she gets in the main area of the lighthouse,
Yeah.
into like blowing itself up,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
taking down the whole
she's
lighthouse
fighting it.
itself.
She's realizing that every step that she takes, the double makes. So, like, obviously it's mirrored.
Hmm.
She tries to run, which was kind of weird because, well, I guess it's not that weird, but she pins herself up against a wall and then that thing suffocates her. She passes out, hits the ground. The thing's just standing there, and then it stands there until she becomes conscious again, and then it lays down, mimics the same thing. So she
Yeah.
realizes that, the thing knocks her out again. So she's out twice. And then you obviously see that she took from Kane's video or whatever that the phosphorus grenade is going to. I mean, she doesn't know if it's going to kill him or not, but I thought that she was going to be like, all right, well, we're screwed, hold on to it together, we pull the pin and they both burn right there. But she pulls a pin and then looks at the thing, and 5 seconds later she jolts for the door. So we
And the
see
thing
that
should
she goes to kill the thing. The thing's standing there. I mean, it eats bullets, so I'm assuming that it's fireproof. Um, but then I mean, you see that kind of the roots and stuff were going up to the lighthouse, which I'm kind of upset we didn't go up to the top because I thought something was going to be in there.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, then we see the thing basically just catching fire and not knowing what's going on, and it's not mirroring
now
her because it's already gone. Like
in
she's
this
gone.
scene, like I dead ass thought like that. So like, because again, at this point, it's been determined Oscar Isaac that's on surface that made it out is not him. Like that is not Kane.
Maybe.
It's not Kane. We know this at this point in the movie.
Yeah.
We know this. So I thought because the thing catches on fire and then essentially crawls in the hole and then burns everything up, I thought that was Natalie Portman for real. Like I
Yeah.
thought that was actually Lena for real crawling in that hole. But then you think about it, like no, because the Lena that made it out actually can talk and shit. Like if Oscar Isaac can't talk, like that's because that's the fake him.
Yeah,
So then
she's
I
like
was
memories.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
she's
So I
also
was
telling
like-
what happened when they were in there.
so I don't know. Again, it would have been cooler if it was like that. And then, boom, we're back. We did it. We finished the movie. We did the mission. Like they went to the lighthouse. They burned it down. She's the only one back, and now we're at the beginning, like a full circle moment. We're talking to Wong. We know what happened.
Yeah.
As soon as
So-
the thing
Go
went
ahead.
up in flames, Kane is back to normal, right? And here comes the ultimate twist. Bennett. Enter the song right here, Josh. Can you put the song in just 15 seconds?
Sure.
Thanks,
I've
dude.
never heard it. I gotta re-listen.
Dude, it's all over TikTok. I'm surprised. I figure you watch a lot of TikTok, you would know it.
No, I'm not a TikTok guy.
Dude, I know you're on there doing your little dancey dances. But
Yeah,
all right, now
let's
that
have a
we're
private.
here at the ending, can I say how they could have ended it and maybe just saved a little face?
No,
like just
say how they ended it, then we'll go off.
Yeah, because they hug and
they ended. It's not Oscar Isaac. Like she walks out there, she goes, "You're not Kane." He goes, "I don't think so." And it's like, okay, clear sign. Dude's got no memories. He goes, "Are you Lena?" And then that's when it's like, oh shit, Kane that blew up that said "Send my love to Lena." Like he found Lena, and that's why he went to her house originally because he had said, "I stopped at the door and I saw you and you looked familiar," and like that's all he knew.
yeah, and then when they hug, you see their eyes both like change color.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So my thing
You
is
got
that
it.
I mean we see this, and even let alone when we see that Kane we see duplicates of the deer. That's how I knew that Kane was obviously a dupe. And then we see, obviously, Natalie Portman goes through all that, and we see everything that happens after that. But either way, the way that they end it, she obviously knows that Kane was weird when she originally got back there. What happened to him? He doesn't have any memories. They said that he's miraculously fine once she burns down the thing. They do not mention if the shimmer's gone. Like, is it still there? Like, they don't say anything.
I think Wong
they said everything went up in
it's
flames.
gone. Yeah, I think
So-
They said the lighthouses, yeah.
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 So then we see that they hug. He goes up for the hug. I don't know why she would even give him the hug. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's like a familiarity thing.
I guess, but either way, like, he forces it on her. You see her go in for it, and then they hug, and their eyes change. I took it as more of a alien being in like an alien, I don't know, whatever you call it, or like a mutation in like nature and like cells and all that. But that's like Adam and Eve. So now that they're linked together, they now that they're gonna go and do the same thing over again. The Shimmer's gonna come back. They're gonna be the two, and it's just gonna keep going on. You know, they're just gonna make it
so,
like they said they want to take over.
I apparently missed the eye part because at this point I was like, this is fucking stupid. Because I was gonna say how I wanted it to end was just her to be sitting in that chair with Wong and being like, oh shit, by the way, I'm not the real fucking Lena, and then boom, shimmer out that hoe like that, and it just should have blown up, and like the villain should have won. Like, I love a good story where you're talking about the villain off rip, real Kaiser Sose moment, if you will.
That's basically what Aiden's saying, and here's the big. This is what most people believe, right? And this is why I'd consider rewatching it. It's been a plan since the very beginning of the movie to get Lena in the Shimmer, right? Basically, the alien teleports to her house and meets her, and then basically gets her to the site, gets her to go in there. It's all been planned to get her in there. Then they duplicate her body. Regardless, she has some of the DNA in her from the Shimmer, right? So like what Aiden's saying with the Adam and Eve thing, this alien's whole mission isn't to like conquer the Earth or kill humans, it's to spread, right? So like Aiden's saying, they're going to go make some babies and just spread throughout time this gene of the Shimmer. So, you know, that's the whole theory behind this movie, and that's where the interpretation comes to. And then, like, also who's real, who's not real. We all have a good idea of who's real and who's not. I mean, you see Kane and he's got the beard when he blows up, and then Clone comes out, he's nice shaved, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, so they're probably just going to spread that way.
Does that mean, though...
And he wanted her to blow up the lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the alien wanted her to
I'm
do that.
getting that, and, like, that's cool. But, like, does that mean, like, is this the Lena that we started with, or is this Lena 2.0?
I think it is the one we started with.
Yeah,
Well,
you
see,
can take it
because-
two different ways.
Because it would have... But it doesn't explain, though, why. Because, like, I feel like it would make more sense if Lena 2.0 made it out, and Lena 1.0 was the mirror that blew up and then crawled into the hole and, like, lit the whole thing up. Like, that would make more sense. But again, I missed the eye thing because at this point I was so fucking fed up with the movie. So like, I don't know. I wish she would have just like shimmered like right there, like just fucking cast another dome over them, like right there, just call it good. But that is like if that's the theory, and if that's what it is, then that it's okay. Like it's good. It makes up for it a little bit.
So the only thing that you can really say, like two different alternate endings would be, you see her eyes. So like, obviously she would have to be the duplicate in order for them to sync up. But then we see that obviously her blood went into the hive mind or whatever you want to call it. And that's why, you know, she's human. She's the original Lena, but she can somehow, you know, pair with like this new alien symbiote, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, definitely, I mean, and then you got to take the title of the movie into consideration, being Annihilation, and this is the start of Annihilation.
Yeah.
They got two pairs, and then now they're just going to go and keep duplicating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you never know. I mean, they don't even have to have babies in order for it to start. They could just be sitting there and, you know, once they hug, it triggers that, you know, tick, and then now they're just duplicating each other. You know?
And she could be brainwashed now, too, or start losing her memory as well. You know, regardless of if she is the clone or not, it doesn't matter. So, but yeah, let's get into the movie trivia. Due to poorly received test screenings, the director and a financier from Paramount began to get concerned about the film's too intelligence. So you need to be. It's too smart for the normal folk. If you haven't seen enough Rick and Morty seasons, you're not smart enough to watch this, Brian.
God. Yeah, my fault,
So
dude.
they thought it was too complicated, and demanded changes to make it appeal to a wider audience, including making Natalie Portman's character more sympathetic and changing the ending. The producer sided with the director and his desire to not alter the film, and Ruben, who is the producer, the executive producer, had the final cut in the movie. So they ended up not changing anything. This one's really cool.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
My bad. I just want to say there's so many more movies that are hard to follow than this movie. I didn't think this movie was hard to follow at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I mean, I thought it was very predictable, and you obviously know what's going to happen. And like we said, it's open ended for sure, but it's not like, oh my god, like I got to run to YouTube and like what was the movie we just watched? Enemy made absolutely zero sense. You could even do
even Interstellar,
Clockwork
dude.
Orange.
If you can watch that and understand it, yeah.
Yeah, and even Shutter Island's another crazy one, and Inception. Like Inception, no one knows what the hell is still going on to this day.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac filmed this movie and Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, on the same studio. And he had the same trailer for both films and would often film scenes for both movies on the same day.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. The abandoned house they camp at within the Shimmer is identical to the suburban house Lena and her husband live outside of the Shimmer. Another example of the echoes. So that's what we mentioned earlier. The snake tattoo that appears on Lena's forearm is not there before she enters the Shimmer. It also appears on the arm of Enya, the woman who goes crazy and ties them up, and the soldier's body that was kind of blown up on the wall with the vines and everything that we mentioned earlier. The tattoo is a symbol of a snake eating itself, which ties into the film's theme of self-destruction. The director decided to not reread the novel. This movie is based off the book, Annihilation. Instead, he decided to adapt it like a dream of the book. So he read it once, and he was like, I'm not going to go back to it to use the material. I'm going to do what I interpreted it as, which I think that's pretty cool. This film was the first rated R film between Paramount Pictures and Skydance, and the second Skydance film ever to receive this rating, rated R. Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton were in talks to star in this movie, but ended up not doing it. So, yeah, that was my movie trivia there. I mean, there's some good stuff. We explained too the theories of what most fans think, but obviously it is left up to interpretation. I do like the whole hidden message about it being like self-destruction rather than like it's a self-destruction mission rather than a suicide mission. You know, if you think about it in real life, we are the reason we get in our own ways. They mentioned this earlier, like you drinking a lot or you smoking a lot, like you're doing things that can harm your body, but you're doing it as kind of an escape and stuff like that. Like sometimes you just get in your own way. If you're too lazy, if you don't want to get out of bed to do something, that's yourself stopping yourself. That's not the world or different events stopping you. So I do like that message a lot in a movie like this.
Oh, that's good. It makes you view it differently, I guess.
Yeah. But you guys want to get into scores and reviews here?
Yeah, down.
Let's do it.
I can start off. Like I said, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I like the cast. I thought it was a good one-time watch. I don't plan on seeing myself watching this ever again. Director is good. I mean, his best movie 100% is Ex Machina, and I mean, if you haven't seen that, that's a complete mindfuck. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, go watch that. I guess you could watch this before and then go watch that. And
he did Dread too.
Yeah, Dread's good.
Dread is dope.
It is. He did the screenplay for that. He didn't direct it.
Okay.
But either way, I mean, it's still like he has that vibe. But I mean, it was original, I guess you could say. I didn't feel as original, but I'll give certain scenes. The crocodile scene was okay. The bear scene was excellent. I think that, like we mentioned before, like it should have been, the main emphasis on this movie, like all these creatures and stuff being mutated and stuff like that. And then even it could have showed them like getting out into the real world. And I wish it would have gave us a little bit more detail on what happens after the fact. But I guess, I mean, that's the vibe of this movie. but I feel confident giving this a 79 out of 100.
You want me to go next, Joshua?
I can go. I can go.
I mean,
yeah.
no, you know what? You should go because I don't want to shit on this movie and then have us like roll out.
All right, go ahead.
I feel bad. My fault. I accidentally hit the mute button. Yeah. So all in all, I don't know where critics got an 88 from because I mean this movie, again, it was very cool concepts and there was very cool ideas there. But me,
they're just smarter than you.
Yeah, I guess that. But also at this point, I was caught up on Rick and Morty, bro. Like I swear I was.
Oh, then you should have been fine.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, and plus, worst comes worse, I would have like YouTubed and been like, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know, I'm not smart enough to get it. But no, at certain points, it felt short for me. I think if they would have somehow angled this to be like a horror movie almost, like that would have been really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really my cup of tea. I don't know. Like I said, at certain points, it reminded me of Interstellar, just in like the exploration format and the idea of like going through the black hole and then going into the shimmer. Like that, I was getting parallels like that. The crocodile thing was cool, but again, the bear scene, like Aiden said, excellent. It's like one of the best shots in there. And then the picture of the guy, like the shot of the guy in the pool, like that looked fucking sick. All in all, if you're into these sci-fi type of movies and you're into movies with a twist, like go ahead. Give it a watch. Again, it had Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman. Can't go wrong with them. But I don't imagine I'll ever rewatch this, like ever. So I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a solid 65.
Wow. 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 No, good score. Mike's just going to be heartbroken. I don't know how I'll be able to tell him.
Honestly, I don't think he'll ever listen to this, so it will be okay. Just don't open your mouth.
I'll just run to him and tell him. Yeah, I think what's cool about this movie and what's unique is, we've seen a lot of alien movies where they're taking over, where they're killing people, stuff like that. But this is an alien that wants to just, I guess, spread this shimmer and, bring wherever it's from here, right? So I mean, it is taking over, it is annihilation, but it's not doing it the normal way we've seen it in other movies. So I think that's unique in its way. And like I mentioned earlier with self-destruction, I do like that theme of a movie. So I'm gonna go with an 82. I could see myself rewatching this just because I feel like I'd catch a lot more stuff that would be more helpful. And obviously too,
actually, I love Rick and Morty, so that's why I love this movie.
Actually, a shark can't mutate with a crocodile. No, and I know this book is a trilogy actually, and when they made the movie or when they wrote it, the other two books hadn't come out yet. So I'm interested to see if they'll continue it, where they'll go from this point on. I think in the U.S. it only made about like 33 million, so maybe it won't. But I do want to say too, I think the movie was visually beautiful.
Visually it was very cool. Again, Far Cry New Dawn
cool
vibes. If you ever played that game, it reminded me of that, and I enjoyed that game. A lot of people didn't. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. So that was our Annihilation movie. Thank you for the pick there, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
And
you're welcome, guys.
Yeah, here's to hoping for a speedy recovery for his pec. We gotta get him back in the gym. So, Mike, if you're listening to this, we love you. And thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep.
Bye, guys. Love you
Peace
all.
out.
What a great movie. I'm so glad that we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Skull.
Shut the fuck up.